Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's like a clear expectation of precision. It feels very engineering focused.
Right, yeah. You break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line, and it's totally binary.
Exactly. The doctor just points and says, there it is, broken.
We find a lot of comfort in that kind of clarity, I think. People inherently prefer systems where all the variables are visible and just neatly categorized.
But then you step into the world of prepping for a new baby and you go to set up the nursery and suddenly that precision is just gone.
Completely out the window.
It really is. We are looking at a consumer landscape that actively thrives on blurring the boundaries between science and aesthetics, especially when it comes to infant sleep.
Oh, 100%.
So welcome to this deep dive. Today's mission is for you, the listener, to join us as we transform what is usually a totally overwhelming kind of guilt-inducing, task-buying baby bedding into a fascinating masterclass in material science and biomechanics.
It really requires a fundamental shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing brochures tell you that you're buying nursery decor, right? You're choosing color palettes and cute animal prints.
Right.
But the biological reality of what is actually happening in that crib is just vastly more complex than interior design.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to get to the bottom of this, we've pulled together a massive stack of sources for you. We're looking at pediatric safety guidelines, the 2025-2026 Independent Innovation Awards, and a really phenomenal mechanical analysis from the Minaret Media YouTube channel.
Yeah, that video is excellent.
It really is. We also pulled specialized data from brands operating on the front lines, like Happiest Baby, Swaddle AN, Joey Plus Joan, and The Little Silk.
And we didn't just stick to the polished corporate stuff either.
No, definitely not. To make sure we aren't just looking at lab results, we waded into the raw, unfiltered trenches of Reddit parenting forums to see what actually works at 2 in the morning.
The real testing ground.
Exactly. So let's start with the core misunderstanding driving this entire industry, which seems to be our basic assumption of what a sleeping baby actually is.
Right, because we tend to view infant sleep through an adult lens. We frame it as a passive break. Like, it's the time when the house finally goes quiet and the parents can just sit down.
Right. Finally.
But physiologically, infant sleep is an intensely active, critical period of development. Their brains are rapidly pruning synapses, their physical growth hormones are hitting peak levels, and their immune systems are, constantly calibrating to the outside world.
So they might look perfectly still, but they are doing a massive amount of physiological work.
Exactly. Therefore, a crib cannot just be viewed as a design choice to complement a rocking chair.
Right.
It is a highly engineered safety zone designed to protect an organism that is in a deeply vulnerable state of rapid continuous development.
Which brings us to the American Academy of Pediatrics and their Clear the Crib challenge.
Yes. The absolute gold standard.
For the first 12 months, the AAP mandates a firm, flat, level surface with absolutely nothing but a mattress and a fitted sheet.
No bumpers, no pillows, no hand-knit blankets from grandma.
Zero. To help you visualize this, the ideal medically sanctioned crib is essentially an empty swimming pool.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, the mattress is the hard concrete bottom, the fitted sheet is the tight vinyl liner, and there is zero debris floating around. It is completely Spartan.
And that Spartan design is rooted entirely in respiratory physics. An infant's airway is incredibly narrow and highly flexible. Think of a well like a soft, malleable paper straw.
Wow, okay.
On top of that, they lack the musculoskeletal strength to easily lift or turn their disproportionately heavy heads if they find themselves in a compromised position.
So if they roll into something plush, they literally can't just push themselves up.
Right. But our sources highlight that this isn't just about a physical blockage of the airway.
Yeah.
It's also about invisible gases and a biological feedback loop that isn't fully wired yet.
Like the rebreathing issue.
Exactly. The primary mechanism we are managing here is rebreathing. When any of us exhale, we expel carbon dioxide. If a baby rolls their face into a plush bumper or a loose, bunchy blanket, that exhaled CO2 pools in the small depressions of the fabric right around their nose and mouth.
Oh, so they end up breathing their own exhaust back in.
Precisely. Instead of pulling in ambient, oxygen-rich air from the room, they inhale that trapped carbon dioxide.
And adults don't have this problem, right?
Right, because adults have highly sensitive chemoreceptors in our brainstems. If our oxygen drops or our CO2 spikes, an internal alarm bell rings, and we automatically wake up and shift our position.
But the babies can't do that.
Infants have immature chemoreceptors. Their brain might not trigger that alarm bell in time, leading to a dangerous cycle of oxygen deprivation.
Which is terrifying.
Mhm.
Because the crib is stripped down to just the mattress and a piece of fabric to prevent that CO2 pooling, the fitted sheet is no longer just a backdrop.
It is a critical piece of structural safety hardware.
The mechanical tension of that sheet, like how flat and tight it stays, is the primary defense mechanism.
Absolutely.
But when you look at the market, especially for travel cribs and bassinets, the sizing is absolute dimensional chaos.
Oh, it's the Wild West. Standard cribs are highly regulated by the government, but bassinets and travel cribs have completely proprietary non-standard dimensions. You see ovals, rectangles, asymmetrical shapes, weirdly rounded corners.
As a consumer facing all that chaos, it's so tempting to rely on a brand offering a super stretchy universal spandex or bamboo sheet that claims to fit everything.
It's a very common trap.
Because logically, it feels like the smartest fix. It acts like yoga pants for the mattress, conforming to whatever weird shape you have.
It sounds incredibly convenient on the surface, yes. But this introduces a significant problem with structural physics.
How so?
Universal stretch relies on high tension. Spandex is a synthetic polymer that aggressively wants to snap back to its original shape.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you wrap a highly elastic sheet around a standard, heavy inner spring mattress, the mattress wins the tug of war. But travel crib mattresses are inherently thin, light, and flexible by design.
Oh, I see. The mattress doesn't have the weight to fight back against the tension of the fabric.
Exactly. When you apply that high-tension spandex across a thin, flexible travel mattress, the tension actually pulls the soft corners and edges of the mattress upward. In mechanical terms, this is called the bowing effect.
So it physically curls the mattress into a U shape.
Yes. And by curling the edges up, that sheet inadvertently manufactures an entrapment zone. You create a dangerous gap between the newly curled edge of the mattress and the mesh wall of the travel crib.
That completely defeats the purpose of the tight sheet.
It does. Furthermore, because it's designed to fit a variety of sizes, you often end up with excess fabric puddling in the corners anyway, which creates the exact CO2 microclimates the AEP warns against.
Wow. The chemical elasticity that makes the sheet universal is the very mechanism that makes it a hazard. This is why our sources highlight brands like Joey plus Joan, who take the exact opposite approach. They use exact fit architectural tailoring.
Right. Instead of relying on chemical stretch, they cut the fabric to the precise mathematical dimensions of specific playards and bassinets.
Ensuring there is zero surplus fabric to begin with.
It is bespoke tailoring applied to biomechanical safety. The physical cut is doing the work, not the stretch of the material.
Now, for you listening at home, you don't have to just blindly trust the marketing copy on the packaging. Swaddle AN provided 2 home safety audits you can perform yourself.
And they are crucial.
They really are. They feel a bit like running an intense military inspection on your nursery. First is the 2-finger rule.
Right, you slide your fingers between the mattress and the crib frame. You should not be able to fit more than 2 fingers in that gap.
And if you can, the sheet is bowing the mattress.
Yep.
Second is the surface snap test. Press your hand flat into the center of the sheet and pull up quickly. The fabric should snap back instantly like a drumhead.
If there's even a split-second lag or a ripple left behind, that is loose fabric.
Those tests give you a tangible way to verify the mechanical tension without needing specialized tools.
But the tension is only half the battle.
Right. Because even if you manage to get that sheet stretched tight enough to bounce a quarter off it, you aren't out of the woods. If that perfectly taut sheet is made of the wrong material, you've just built a drum-tight sauna.
And this requires a look at thermodynamics. You will see a lot of budget sheets made of polyester or microfiber. Synthetics are essentially extruded plastics derived from petroleum.
They are just woven plastic yarn?
Basically, yeah. They're completely smooth and hydrophobic, meaning they repel water.
Yeah.
Because they don't breathe, they create an impermeable thermal barrier.
And babies can't sweat well, right?
Right. Infants have highly mature eccrine sweat glands. They cannot regulate their own temperature by sweating effectively, so they rely heavily on passive heat dissipation to cool down.
So if you place them on a synthetic sheet, it acts like saran wrap.
Exactly. It traps their body heat and reflects it right back into their core. Overheating is a massive, documented physiological stressor for infants.
Okay, so synthetics are clearly out. But let's look at the premium side of the market. As an adult, my idea of absolute luxury is like 1,000 thread count Egyptian cotton sheet.
Oh, sure.
It feels heavy, silky, expensive. If I want the best for my baby, my instinct is to buy that exact same luxury weave.
What was fascinating here is that the physics of adult luxury actively work against infant safety.
Wait, really?
Yeah, thread count is simply a mathematical calculation of how many threads are woven into 1 square inch of fabric. To physically pack 1,000 threads into a single square inch, a textile manufacturer has to jam them together under extreme tension.
You're squeezing them so tightly that there is no physical space left between the individual threads?
You are systematically eradicating the microscopic air gaps. 1,000 thread count cotton sheet acts as a thermal trap, functioning almost identically to a synthetic sheet in terms of blocking airflow.
That is wild.
Pediatric guidelines strongly recommend sticking to a 200 to 300 thread count for babies. That specific weave is open enough to allow for convective heat loss.
Meaning the ambient air can actually flow freely through the microscopic grid of the fabric.
Exactly.
So the lower thread count is literally leaving room for the air to move. Looking at the materials that actually hit this sweet spot, cotton is the standard because it's hydrophilic. It absorbs moisture.
Right.
I noticed in the research that brands often specify ring-spun cotton. Standard spinning just twists the cotton, which leaves tiny, scratchy fiber ends poking out of the yarn.
Yes, and ring spinning continuously twists and thins the fibers, physically tucking those scratchy ends inside the core of the yarn so the surface is completely smooth.
It creates a significantly less abrasive physical surface against their delicate skin.
However, cotton is facing substantial competition from cellulosic fibers, primarily bamboo viscose.
Bamboo sheets definitely have a distinct, almost cold feel to them. But how does grass feel cold?
It all comes down to the microscopic anatomy of the material. If you observe bamboo viscose under an electron microscope, you see that it's not a solid fiber. It is entirely hollow, filled with microgaps.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like a bundle of microscopic drinking straws.
So the material is essentially a structural sponge.
Exactly. Those hollow channels create a powerful capillary action. When the infant's skin generates any moisture, those little straws act like a vacuum. They pull the sweat away from the skin and spread it out over a much larger surface area.
Ah, and evaporation cools them down.
Right. Because the process of evaporation requires thermal energy, this mechanism actively draws heat away from the baby, generating that distinct cool sensation.
So the bamboo is acting like an active cooling system, but I imagine those tiny hollow straws aren't very durable, are they?
That is the big trade-off. Bamboo fibers are physically much shorter than cotton fibers. When a baby is constantly rubbing against them, or the sheets go through the harsh mechanical agitation of a washing machine, those short fibers easily break and tangle.
Oh, is that why bamboo sheets are notorious for pilling?
Exactly, creating those abrasive little fuzzballs all over the surface.
And that pilling introduces mechanical friction, which leads us to one of the most frustrating challenges for parents: baby eczema.
It's a huge issue.
An infant skin barrier is 30% thinner than an adult's. Mechanical friction from rough, pilled sheets can actually break down the skin barrier and trigger an inflammatory immune response.
Which is where specialized materials like silk enter the picture, specifically brands like the Little Silk.
Mhm.
For babies suffering from severe eczema, silk offers virtually zero mechanical friction.
But there's a really counterintuitive element in their data. Silk is a highly desirable eczema solution specifically because it is significantly less absorbent than cotton.
Right, which sounds bad until you think about the treatment.
Because parents dealing with eczema spend a small fortune on thick, specialized overnight emollient creams. If you put the baby down on a highly absorbent cotton sheet, the cotter just drinks up all the expensive medication within an hour.
Precisely. Because the silk doesn't absorb it, the cream actually stays on the baby's skin where it belongs, doing its job all night long.
It perfectly illustrates why we have to view the sleep environment as an interconnected system.
You really do.
So you've optimized the physical structure, the thermal weave, and the friction levels. But there is a third layer to this microclimate, which is the invisible chemistry.
Oh, this is where it gets really tricky.
The chemical opacity in the textile industry is surprisingly dense. The 2025-2026 Independent Innovation Awards highlight a massive consumer trend toward green nurseries. Everyone wants a non-toxic environment.
Natural.
You go to the store, you see a box with a lovely green leaf on it labeled organic, and you just assume the job is done. But the sources warn us this is the ultimate organic trap.
It's a textbook case of greenwashing. When consumers see the GOTS certification, the Global Organic Textile Standard, they assume the final product is chemical-free. But GOTS primarily dictates how the cotton was grown on the farm.
It ensures the soil wasn't treated with toxic pesticides.
Which is fantastic for the local ecosystem, absolutely. But it doesn't cover what happens after the harvest.
Wait, really?
Yeah. The journey from a raw bale of organic cotton to a finished, dyed crib sheet involves intense industrial milling. A manufacturer can take pristine, organically grown cotton and treat it with heavy, metal-based synthetic dyes in the mill.
Are you kidding?
Or they can bathe the fabric in formaldehyde to give it wrinkle-free properties.
Formaldehyde, the chemical used to preserve biological specimens.
The very same.
And textile mills use it as a cross-linking agent to bind the cellulose fibers together, just so a parent doesn't have to iron a crib sheet.
Exactly. So you buy the box with the earthy green leaf, and the fabric inside was secretly embalmed.
That is horrifying.
This huge gap in the process is why the Okotex Standard 100 certification is so critical to look for. Okotex doesn't focus on how the plant was grown. They test the finished, consumer-ready product.
So they test the actual sheet you're buying.
Independent laboratories literally vaporize a piece of the final sheet in a mass spectrometer. They break it down to its molecular components to guarantee it's completely free of over 1,000 harmful substances.
And for infants, we are specifically looking for product class I, right?
Right. Product Class I is a medical-grade standard strictly for ages 0 to 36 months. It severely restricts chemical residues and mandates a skin-neutral pH to protect the baby's fragile acid mantle.
Wow.
Brands like Swaddle AN take this testing so seriously that they don't just audit the fabric, they test the sewing threads and ensure all metal snaps are 100% nickel-free to prevent contact dermatitis.
That level of microscopic auditing is super impressive. I also noticed a newer label in the sustainability directory sources, the Made in Green label from Okotex. How does that step beyond the standard 100?
Made in Green represents the evolution of supply chain transparency. It includes all the rigorous chemical mass spectrometer testing of Standard 100, but it adds strict audits for environmental sustainability and fair labor practices at the actual manufacturing facilities.
So it provides full traceability for the entire lifespan of the product.
Exactly.
All this lab-grade engineering is great on paper. You have a geometrically exact, Okotex certified 300 thread count microclimate. But eventually it's 2.0 a.m., the baby is crying, and the physics of infant digestion suddenly takes center stage.
Ah, yes, the trench warfare of parenting. No amount of certifications will stop a middle-of-the-night mess.
We dove into Reddit's Our New Parents forum to see how real people handle this reality.
The real experts.
Totally. The overwhelming consensus is not to panic by every gadget before birth. Buy as you figure out what you actually need. But when it comes to sheets, the forums agree you absolutely need inventory.
The logistical math dictates the 4-sheet rule. 1 sheet deployed on the bed, 1 actively spinning in the washing machine, and 2 clean backups folded in the closet.
Because at 2 in the morning, you do not have time to wait for a dryer cycle to finish.
No, you do not.
Yeah, this brings us to the ultimate Reddit blowout hack, which some users call the bedding lasagna.
It's so brilliant.
When you make the crib, you layer it. Mattress protector, fitted sheet, a second mattress protector, and a second fitted sheet. If a disaster happens in the dark, you don't remake the bed. You just peel off the top 2 layers, throw them in the laundry basket, and a pristine, fully made bed is already waiting underneath.
It is a phenomenal logistical strategy to maximize sleep. But introducing mattress protectors brings up a major mechanical concern.
Okay, what is it?
Historically, a waterproof mattress protector was just a rigid, crinkly sheet of PVC plastic. If we put a sheet of impermeable plastic over the mattress, we are completely negating the breathability of that 300 thread count cotton we just spent all this time engineering.
Hold on, though. Modern protectors advertise themselves as microporous, but microporous literally means it's full of holes. If there's a huge liquid mess, liquid is liquid. How does it not just seep straight through those microscopic holes and ruin the expensive mattress underneath?
It relies on the molecular behavior of water. Modern protectors use a microporous polyurethane membrane. They puncture this incredibly thin, flexible material with millions of microscopic holes.
Okay.
Liquid water molecules exhibit strong cohesion. They naturally bind together to form droplets. A liquid water droplet is physically larger than the microscopic pores in the membrane, so it cannot pass through.
Oh, I see.
It acts as an impermeable barrier to the liquid mess.
But the heat can still escape through those same holes.
Yes, because evaporated water vapor exists as individual gas molecules. Those single gas molecules are small enough to slip right through the microscopic pores. The membrane blocks the cohesive liquid droplets, but actively vents the individual gas molecules straight through, maintaining the convective cooling.
The engineering there is genuinely elegant, so we've solved the breathability and the 2 a.m. laundry crisis, but that introduces a completely different environmental problem.
Right.
If the crib has to be totally bare and it's mid-December with a drafty window, how do you keep the baby warm?
Since we cannot alter the environment of the bare crib, we must insulate the infant's apparel. This introduces the wearable blanket, or sleep sack, and the metric of TOG ratings.
TOG stands for thermal overall grade.
Right. It is a standardized global measurement of thermal resistance, specifically how effectively a garment traps stagnant air. Stagnant, dead air is a highly effective insulator.
So the more loft or structural thickness a fabric has, the more dead air it traps, preventing the baby's radiant body heat from escaping into the room.
Exactly.
The scale is pretty intuitive once you see it. A zero point 0.5 TOG has very little loft, perfect for summer. A 1.0 TOG is your year-round standard for normal room temperatures, and a 2.5 TOG has heavy quilted loft for cold winter nights.
And brands like Wellino are heavily praised on Reddit for utilizing natural fibers to manage these TOG ratings effectively.
But HVAC systems are flawed, and drafts happen. How do I actually know if my baby is cold in the middle of the night without waking them up to take their temperature? My instinct is always to check their toes or hands.
Don't do it. The pediatric guidelines offer a highly reliable, non-invasive biomechanical check known as the neck check. But first, you absolutely must discard the instinct to check the hands or feet.
Why does that give a false positive?
Infants have a powerful autonomic nervous system response called peripheral vasoconstriction. When they are exposed to even mildly cool air, their bodies immediately constrict the blood vessels in their extremities. They autonomously shunt the warm blood away from their hands and feet directly to their core to protect their vital organs.
Oh, so their hands are basically designed to feel like ice cubes as a defense mechanism.
Exactly. If you feel their cold hands and immediately add a heavy layer, you risk causing dangerous overheating because their core temperature was perfectly stable all along.
That makes total sense.
Instead, you reach around and feel the back of the neck, right at the nape. It sits directly over the core circulatory pathways. If the skin there feels hot, damp, or clammy, they are over-insulated, and you must immediately downgrade the TOG rating of their sleep sack.
Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've shifted from seeing baby bedding as cute nursery decor with pastel elephants to viewing it as a critical piece of structural engineering.
It really is a paradigm shift.
You, the listener, are now armed to audit your nursery like an industrial chemist and a respiratory therapist combined. You understand exact fit geometry to prevent bowing, the thermal physics of thread counts, the reality of Oecotec's chemical vapor testing, and the mechanics of microporous polyurethane.
Understanding the mechanisms at play is really the best way to cut through the marketing noise and alleviate that decision fatigue. But to leave you with one final thought, I want to pull a concept from that Minaret media analysis regarding the future of baby bedding. We spent this entire time exploring passive, analog material science cotton, bamboo, mechanical tailoring.
Purely physical solutions.
But the nursery is rapidly digitizing. We're standing on the precipice of smart sheets.
Oh, where?
Imagine a fitted sheet woven not just with Oecotec certified cotton, but interlaced with microscopic conductive biometric threads. These threads are designed to continuously monitor your infant's heart rate, respiratory volume, and micro movements, sending a constant stream of medical telemetry directly to an app on your smartphone.
That brings us right back to the beginning. The desire for that perfect binary medical x-ray that just gives you a definitive answer.
Full circle.
So we leave you with this lingering question to ponder. Will wrapping our babies in continuous medical telemetry finally cure our parental anxiety? Or will it fundamentally amplify it, turning every single night into a stressful, glowing data monitoring shift by the side of the ultimate empty swimming pool? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the marketing, keep analyzing the mechanics of the world around you, and we'll see you next time.